We only scheduled a bath after the workout, but under the warm water, he made me realize, I can no longer hide my feelings. It was supposed to be just another shower after practice. But the way his fingers lingered near mine, like they were waiting for permission to stay, cracked something open in me that I had spent years trying to cement shut. The locker room always had that strange smell, a blend of damp socks, fading deodorant, and the metallic tinge of dried sweat. After Thursday drills, no one talked much. We just peeled off our gear like exhausted ghosts and stumbled into the showers, lost in a haze of steam and soreness. But that afternoon, everything felt off. Maybe it was how the air clung heavier than usual, or how my heart began pounding harder the second I noticed him sitting on the bench next to mine, still in his cleats, hair matted down with sweat. Noah didn't usually take long to get undressed. He was always the first one out. But today, he was waiting. For me. "Yo," he said, his voice low, his hand brushing the side of mine as I sat. "Just a touch. Just long enough to make the breath catch in my throat." I looked up. His dark curls stuck to his forehead. His brown eyes were tired, maybe nervous. Maybe curious. "You good?" I asked, trying to sound casual. My voice cracked like a freshman. I wasn't a freshman. Noah hesitated, then smiled, not the wide, charismatic grin he usually flashed in front of crowds, but a smaller, gentler one. The kind that felt like a secret. "Yeah," he said. "Just don't feel like rushing today." We were the last two left. The rest of the team had filtered out, loud voices fading into the hallway like echoes from a world we were no longer in. The moment the door closed behind them, silence wrapped around us thick, unspoken. I stood, peeled off my shirt. He did the same. Neither of us said a word. The locker room was old. Mold crept along the tile in some corners. One of the overhead lights flickered constantly, like it was stuttering through the truth. The showers were open, no curtains, no privacy, just a line of spouts on a cracked wall. For 3 years, I had showered here after every practice, every game, every hellish sprint coach put us through. But I had never been this aware of my body. Of his. Steam billowed around us as we stepped under the water. My back was to him. I told myself to breathe. I told myself this was normal. But nothing about the way the water hit my skin felt normal. It felt like heat crawling through my chest, pooling in my gut, rising to my throat. I heard him move behind me. A faint splash. Then his voice barely above a whisper. "Can I ask you something?" My shoulders tensed. "Yeah. Sure. You ever feel like you're pretending too much?" My heart stopped. I turned slightly. He wasn't looking at me. He was facing the wall, palms flat against the tiles, water streaming down his back like a second skin. "Pretending?" I repeated, like I didn't already know. He nodded. "Like with people. With yourself. That if they knew what was really in your head, they'd, I don't know, hate you. Or worse, look at you different." The locker room was no longer a room. It was a confessional. I stared at the water dripping from my fingers. And I told the truth. Every damn day. He looked at me then. Fully. No filters. No jokes. Just him, raw and real, and shaking a little, like his soul had finally breached the surface after years underwater. And then he said, "Do you ever think about it? About guys, I mean." There it was. Laid bare. The question I'd buried so deep, I forgot it had words. My chest ached. "Yeah," I whispered. His face broke, not in fear, not in disgust. But in relief. Pure, fragile, beautiful relief. He stepped closer. My breath caught again. Not from panic. From possibility. We stood inches apart. The steam made everything feel dreamlike, suspended. The water between us was the only thing moving, trickling down our skin like time melting. Noah raised a hand slow, deliberate and brushed my cheek with his knuckles. It was the softest touch I'd ever felt, and yet it shook me like thunder. "I don't want to pretend anymore," he said. I didn't know what came over me. Maybe it was all the years of silence. Maybe it was how his eyes looked at me, not like a teammate, not even like a friend, but like someone searching for something they recognized inside themselves. Whatever it was, I closed the space between us and kissed him. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't some romantic movie scene with violins and rain. It was messy and scared and trembling, but it was honest. God, it was honest. And when we pulled apart, both of us breathless, I expected guilt. I expected panic. But what I got instead was peace. We didn't talk much after. Just finished our showers. Got dressed. The silence wasn't heavy anymore. It was full. Before leaving, he touched my arm. "You doing anything after this?" I shook my head. He nodded toward the hallway. "Come over. We can watch something. Or not." I smiled. "Yeah. I'd like that." What followed was both everything and nothing. We didn't label it. We didn't tell anyone. We just kept existing. Together. In the halls, we were teammates. In the car, we were something else. In his room, under the dim glow of a lava lamp and the hum of video game menus we never pressed start on, we became the versions of ourselves we had always hidden. But nothing stays secret forever. Not in high school. Not in America. And not in a town where boys are supposed to be boys, and boys who kiss boys get whispered about until the whispers turn to shouts. The first rumor came 2 weeks later. A girl from the cheer team said she saw us, too close, in Noah's truck. A teacher noticed we were distracted in practice. Then one day, my locker was smeared with the word freak in bright red Sharpie. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just stood there, staring. Noah showed up late. When he saw it, he froze. And then he turned to me, fire in his eyes. "We don't have to take this," he said. But I wasn't brave like him. I wasn't ready to burn it all down. Not yet. "Let's just lay low," I said. "It'll pass." Except it didn't. And what came next would force us both to choose between fear and truth, between silence and each. It didn't pass. If anything, it got worse. By the next week, people weren't whispering anymore, they were laughing. Mocking. Staring with those smug little smirks, like they knew something I didn't. Like they held some truth I wasn't brave enough to face in the daylight. It was strange how it spread. Like smoke through a cracked window. Nobody ever said it directly to my face. Not the slur. Not the accusation. But it was everywhere. The way my name echoed when I walked past. The way conversations dropped when I entered a room. The way I was suddenly invisible to the same guys who used to throw high fives and punch my shoulder in the hallway like I was part of them. Except now I wasn't. Noah and I avoided talking about it at first. We just kept doing what we'd been doing. Meeting up after practice. Pretending nothing had changed. Pretending we were still okay. But even that had cracks. He pulled away one evening, not physically, but emotionally. We were in his bedroom, both of us lying on our backs on his floor, some old Radiohead track playing softly from his laptop. Usually we'd talk about everything. Movies. Football. Dumb memories from middle school. Our futures. That night, though, he was quiet. Distant. I turned toward him. "You good?" He didn't answer for a while. Then, "What are we doing, Ryan?" That question knocked the wind out of me. What do you mean? I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. I mean this. He sat up, ran a hand through his curls. Us. What is this? We hook up, we hang out, we hide. But when people look at you funny or say stuff, you just let it happen. You disappear. I swallowed hard. What do you want me to do, Noah? Start holding your hand in the cafeteria? Kiss you in front of Coach? No, he snapped, too fast. Then, softer, I want to know I'm not in this alone. I sat up beside him, arms resting on my knees. You're not. Then why do you act like you're ashamed? That one hurt. I wanted to tell him I wasn't ashamed. I wanted to tell him I thought about him constantly, about his laugh, his hands, the way he looked at me like I was more than the mask I wore. I wanted to say it out loud. But the truth was I didn't know how. So I just said, it's not that simple. And Noah said nothing. Just looked away. And in that silence, something between us cracked. The next day at school, the locker next to mine, Noah's, was empty. I didn't see him in homeroom. Not in the cafeteria. Not at practice. Coach asked, "Where's Hernandez?" but no one answered. That night, he didn't text. By Friday, the team had a new favorite joke. They started calling me Princess. Coach didn't stop it. He didn't even look surprised. Then, after practice, as I stood under the same flickering light in the locker room, still waiting for a message from Noah, someone shoved me from behind. I turned. It was Jake Thomas, our linebacker. Bigger than me. Meaner. "You miss your boyfriend or what?" he sneered, loud enough for the other guys to hear. I didn't answer. He stepped closer. "Don't worry, man. I'm sure he'll be back. Maybe he's out shopping for matching bras." The others laughed. I clenched my jaw. He laughed too. "What? You gonna cry?" Something inside me snapped. I pushed him. Not hard, just enough to get him out of my face. That was all it took. The room exploded. Fists flew. Shouts. Someone grabbed me from behind. I went down hard, my head cracking against the bench. Stars in my vision. Blood in my mouth. When Coach finally tore us apart, my shirt was ripped and Jake had a cut on his eyebrow. Coach didn't ask what happened. He just pointed at me. "Get out." But. Now. So I walked out, dazed, angry, humiliated. The hallway spun around me. I sat on the steps behind the gym, pressing ice to my lip, waiting for the world to stop pulsing. That was when I heard the voice. "Jesus, what the hell happened to you?" "Noah." He crouched beside me, eyes wide, his hoodie halfway zipped, his curls pushed back like he'd run the whole way from home. I didn't even try to act tough. I just closed my eyes. He sat down next to me, silent, stretching. After a moment, he said, "You hit Jake." "Shoved him." "Damn." More silence. Then, "I missed you." I opened my eyes. He was looking at me like I was the only real thing in the world. "I missed you too," I whispered. He smiled, and for the first time in days, I felt like I could breathe. "I told my mom," he said suddenly. My eyes widened. "Told her what?" "About us." You what?" He nodded. "She cried a little. Then she said she always kind of knew. Said she loved me anyway." I couldn't speak. Couldn't move. "And she told me," Noah added, "that hiding hurts more than anything anyone else can do to you." I looked down at the bruises on my arms. The blood on my shirt. The emptiness in my chest. "She's right," I said. That weekend, I came out to my sister. Not my parents, not yet. But Natalie was safe. She always had been. We sat in my car in the McDonald's parking lot, milkshakes melting in the cup holders. I told her everything. About Noah. About the locker room. About the silence. She didn't freak out. Didn't flinch. She reached across the center console and grabbed my hand. "You're still my idiot brother," she said. "Just a braver version." For the first time in a long while, I smiled without faking it. Monday morning, I walked into school and something had changed. Not the stares. Not the whispers. Those were still there. But me. I had changed. I didn't hunch. I didn't flinch. I looked Jake in the eyes when I passed him in the hallway and kept walking. He didn't say a word. And at lunch, I sat with Noah. Not in the back corner. In the middle. Out loud. A few people looked. One girl whispered something. A couple of guys shook their heads. But others didn't even react. And slowly, day by day, the silence grew smaller. The fear got quieter. The rumors got boring. I don't know when it happened exactly, but one afternoon, as Noah and I left school, someone behind us shouted, "Fags." I braced myself. But before I could even turn, a different voice, one I didn't recognize, shouted back, "Shut the hell up, Travis." We turned. It was Ethan Price. Star quarterback. And behind him, a few more of the guys nodded. Noah looked at me. I looked at him. And for the first time since that shower weeks ago, I felt proud. We weren't perfect. We still had moments where we flinched. Still had nights where we held each other and asked what the hell we were doing. But we were together. And we weren't hiding anymore. Fall turned into winter. And while the world outside froze, something between us kept burning. There were still days that hurt, looks that lingered too long, comments muttered just loud enough to sting, teachers who didn't say anything but saw. That quiet kind of cruelty. The kind you can't point at, but feel anyway. But more and more, the silence was interrupted by voices that mattered. Natalie started picking both of us up from school, like it was the most natural thing in the world. My mom didn't ask questions, but I caught her watching Noah sometimes at dinner like she was trying to put the pieces together but didn't want to force them. We didn't come out to the world with a big Instagram post. We didn't hold hands at prom. That wasn't us. What we did do was make room for each other, space that had never existed before. On the night of the last football game, we lost by 3 points. The crowd was brutal, and coach was worse. In the locker room, everyone was silent. Angry. Beaten. But when Noah stood and clapped for our team anyway, clapped for effort, for heart, for getting this far despite everything, a few others joined in. Ethan. Caleb. Even Marcus, who used to smirk every time he saw us walking together. It was small, but it was real. That night, after everyone left, Noah pulled me into the back hallway where the trophy case glowed in pale light. We stood in front of the dusty glass, just breathing. "I'm proud of you," he said. I looked over at him. For what? For not hiding anymore. I smiled. "You pulled me out." "No," he whispered. "You came out on your own. I just waited." And then he kissed me. Right there. In that dim hallway, surrounded by years of victories that had never included anything like us. The first time I told my mom, it wasn't planned. It was late. She was folding laundry in the kitchen. I was about to go upstairs when I just stopped. She looked up. "You okay, Ree?" I nodded. Then shook my head. Then said, "I like Noah." She didn't move. I thought she hadn't heard. Then she said, "I know." My heart skipped. "You do?" She gave me a small, sad smile. I've always known you were different. I just didn't want to guess the wrong thing and make it harder for you to tell me yourself. Tears welled in my eyes before I could stop them. She crossed the kitchen and hugged me tight, warm, real. The way she used to when I was 5 and had nightmares. You're still my boy, she said softly. You'll always be my boy. And just like that, the ground under me stopped shaking. We started telling more people after that. Not everyone. Just the ones who felt like truth. My dad took longer. A lot longer. But he didn't yell. He didn't kick me out. He just went quiet. And for a while, that silence said everything. Until one day, I found a note in my room. Written in his sharp, mechanical handwriting. I don't understand all of it. But I'm trying. I love you. That was enough. That was everything. By spring, things had shifted. Noah and I had been together unofficially, secretly, and then fully for nearly a year. We applied to colleges on opposite coasts. We fought about it. Cried about it. Made up in his driveway at 1 a.m., in the passenger seat of my car, hands tangled in the hoodie I'd stolen from him 3 months ago. I don't want to lose this, I whispered. You won't, he said. We're not going anywhere. But the truth was, we were. We had to. The future doesn't wait for scared boys with dreams. It demands movement. So we made a pact. We'd go where our hearts told us to, but we'd keep showing up for each other. Every week. Every call. Every break. No matter what. Senior prom was a turning point. Neither of us wanted to go. But Natalie told me, if you don't show up, they win. So we did. We rented suits. We showed up together. We didn't kiss. We didn't dance too close. But we didn't hide, either. We existed. Publicly. Proudly. And that, somehow, was more radical than anything else we could have done. A few students stared. A few whispered. But more people just smiled. One girl from yearbook even asked to take our photo. You two look real, she said. We didn't win prom king. Obviously. But we left hand in hand anyway. That night, in his room, Noah said, I used to think being out meant being loud. Making a scene. Being political. But maybe it just means being visible. Being seen. And I told him, I see you. Graduation came. Our families sat near each other. Natalie made stupid signs. My mom cried. His mom cried louder. When they called Noah's name, I clapped so hard my hands stung. When they called mine, I heard him whistle from the back of the auditorium. That night, after everyone else had gone home, we met on the football field one last time. No jerseys. No helmets. Just us. Stars overhead. Grass underfoot. We lay down on the 50-yard line, shoulders touching. I'm scared, I admitted. Me too, he said. But I'm more scared of not living. I turned my head. So we live? He nodded. We live. And then we kissed. Not because we had to. Not because we were trying to prove anything. But because we were free. The summer before college felt like sand slipping through our fingers fast, warm, and impossible to hold on to. Every day felt like the last of something. The last trip to the lake with Noah, our feet dipped into the cool water, his hand in mine beneath the surface. The last time sneaking into the movie theater without paying. The last long drive with the windows down and the music too loud, our laughter louder. We didn't talk about August. We didn't talk about distance. We just lived in the pause before goodbye. But goodbyes don't wait for permission. They come whether you're ready or not. The morning he left for California, I drove over before the sun rose. His mom let me in without a word. She hugged me at the door like I was already family. He was in his room, surrounded by half-packed bags and old posters curling off the walls. I stood in the doorway, afraid to walk in, because once I did, it would be real. But Noah turned, saw me, and smiled. "Hey." My voice caught in my throat. "Hey." He closed the distance in 3 steps and wrapped his arms around me. I held him tighter than I ever had before. "I don't want to do this without you," I whispered into his shoulder. "You won't have to," he said, his voice shaking. "We're gonna figure it out. I promise." He kissed me slow, desperate, like time might stop if we just held each other tightly enough. Then he pulled back and pressed something into my hand. A key. I looked at it, confused. "To my dorm," he said. "For when you visit. Or if you ever just need to feel close." I laughed through the tears. "You really think I'm flying across the country with no money and 2 jobs?" He shrugged. "Yeah. Because you're stubborn. Because I love you." He smiled, and then he said it for the first time. "I love you, too." My heart cracked wide open, and every fear, every ache, every doubt poured out with it. We kissed again. And then I let him go. The next few months were harder than I expected. The silence after he left wasn't just quiet, it was empty. I started community college in town, worked evenings at the hardware store. Natalie moved out, and the house felt bigger and lonelier. But Noah kept his promise. Every Friday night, we FaceTimed. Every Sunday, he sent a letter handwritten, every single one, and I kept them all in a shoebox under my bed. Some days were harder than others. The loneliness crept in like fog, and I'd sit on the bleachers at the empty football field and try to remember his laugh, his touch, the way his hand felt wrapped around mine in the dark. But somehow, even across thousands of miles, he still made me feel seen. Thanksgiving break, I saved enough to fly out. I hadn't been on a plane since I was 12. I packed 2 shirts, 1 hoodie, and a toothbrush. When he met me at the airport, he looked older. Tired but happy. We didn't talk much on the ride to campus. Just held hands in the back of the Uber, fingers intertwined like puzzle pieces. His dorm was small. Messy. Smelled like ramen and air freshener. But I didn't care. That night, we lay on his narrow twin bed, pressed together like we were afraid the world might pull us apart again. He told me about his classes. His roommate. The LGBTQ+ center where he'd started volunteering. I told him about the store. My mom. The night I came out to my dad again, this time in a way he couldn't walk away from. He just sat there, I said. Then he said, "You're still you. I'm the one that has to catch up." Noah kissed my forehead. "Sounds like he's trying." He is. We didn't sleep much that night. And for the first time in a long while, I didn't dream of losing him. We kept going. He came home over winter break. We spent every day together walking downtown, eating pancakes at 2 a.m., dancing in my kitchen like idiots. We didn't talk about the future yet. But I think we both felt it getting closer. When he left again, it didn't feel like the end. It just felt like another beginning. And beginnings, I was starting to realize, weren't always loud or dramatic. Sometimes, they were quiet. Like the moment I decided to apply to a university near his. Like the night I told him, "I want this. Not just us, I want a life where I don't have to keep starting over." And he whispered, "Then let's build it." 1 year later, I stood at the foot of a dormitory 3 states away from where I grew up. My bags were heavy, my heart was heavier, but when the doors opened and I saw him a little taller, a little more confident, it all felt worth it. He ran toward me. I dropped everything. And when we collided, it was like nothing had changed and everything had. I missed you, he breathed. I didn't answer. Just kissed him. Right there. On a busy campus walkway. In broad daylight. No shadows to hide behind. No teammates to impress. No shame. Just truth. Just us. Years passed. We finished college. We got an apartment together, one with bad plumbing and noisy neighbors, but it was ours. We learned how to fight without fear. How to love without conditions. How to rebuild on days when the world felt too heavy. We came out to friends, co-workers, strangers at dinner parties. We held hands in airports and grocery stores and movie lines. Some people stared. Most didn't. And the ones who did, we stopped caring. Because we had each other. One rainy spring morning, I found the old shoebox. The one with Noah's letters. I sat on our living room floor and read through them one by one. Each one a time capsule. A memory. A heartbeat. Noah came in, holding 2 mugs of coffee. He saw the box, knelt beside me, and smiled. You kept them? I nodded. Every single one. He leaned in. Read the last one. I blinked. What? He pulled a sealed envelope from his hoodie pocket and handed it to me. My name was written in his familiar scrawl. I opened it, hands shaking. Dear Ryan. It started with a shower. A quiet moment. A soft touch. I never imagined back then that I'd get to grow old with you. But I want to. I want forever. So I guess what I'm saying is, will you marry me? I looked up. Noah was already down on one knee. And this time, I didn't need to hide anything. Yes, I said, already crying. And then I was in his arms. And the world, for once, was exactly what it was supposed to be. Years from now, when people ask how we met, I'll laugh and say, it started with football. But when they ask how I knew, I'll say, it was the way he looked at me when the rest of the world wasn't watching. Because real love doesn't always arrive in fireworks or grand gestures. Sometimes, it arrives in steam and silence. Sometimes, it waits quietly under the roar of showers and the ache of bruises. Sometimes, it looks like a boy standing beside you while the whole world tries to push you down. And sometimes, if you're lucky, love shows up when you least expect it and stays. Even after the water runs cold. The end.